You're watching India Today. I'm Gaurav Sawant. There's breaking news coming in. The US President Donald Trump has offered to mediate on Jammu and Kashmir. There's a rather bizarre statement that's come from the US President Donald Trump. He's being quoted by agencies as saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked him to help with disputed Kashmir region and that he would love to be a mediator on Jammu and Kashmir. Donald Trump apparently said this when the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan was with him at the White House. Now, does this mean that Trump has offered to mediate with Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to be brought back to India, even though India has made it very clear that Jammu and Kashmir is a bilateral issue and there is no role for any third party? I want to quickly bring in India Today's Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, for more on this big story that we are breaking here on India Today. Geeta, Reuters is quoting Donald Trump as saying Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked him to help with the disputed Kashmir region and that he would love to be a mediator. What would you make of it? Because Omar Abdullah, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, is also going after the Prime Minister, saying, is the government of India going to call Donald Trump a liar? Or has there been an undeclared shift in India's position on third-party involvement in Kashmir, Geeta?
Well, Gaurav, look, that's Donald Trump we're talking about. President Trump can have various interpretations to any conversation he has with any world leader, be it Prime Minister Narendra Modi or, for that matter, what he does with Imran Khan and later has conversations with regards to his own interpretation of that meeting. Having said that, whatever mediation that President Trump is offering over here is not the first time that he's offered, and it's not the first time that an American president is offering. India's stand has been very clear that Kashmir is a bilateral issue and a bilateral dispute that would have to be resolved bilaterally. Having said that, whatever happens within Kashmir is an internal matter of India, and even Pakistan does not have a say on what happens in internal matters of India. So India's stand is very clear. This is not the first time a president is going down this road. The message from New Delhi is going to be very clearly sent out to Washington DC, if at all that has been said is true, because these are reports, wire reports that are coming in right now. And on the conversation that President Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have had, well, it is not unknown that the two leaders have had conversations on the strife between India and Pakistan. It is also not unknown to say that the Indian side must have spoken about the tensions.
Is this Donald Trump's interpretation, and is this a flawed interpretation? Because India's made it very clear there is no third-party intervention when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir. I also want to bring in our consultant editor Shiv Arur for more on this big story. And Shiv, what do you make of Donald Trump being quoted as saying that he would love to mediate and that Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked for intervention? This is completely in variance of India's stated position, no third-party intervention on Kashmir.
Gaurav, the journalist in me thinks that India's position definitely hasn't changed. I agree with Geeta. India's position has always been that there can be no third-party intervention. So it is almost impossible, highly unlikely that there has been any shift in that kind of policy. It's a kind of policy that you don't see ever really changing as far as India is concerned. Point number two, I again agree with Geeta. This is Donald Trump we're talking about. This is the kind of world leader who denies what he said 5 minutes ago. He's been known to deny things he has said in speeches made in a previous week in another country. So there are, credibility issues with Donald Trump, especially since he's in conversation with Pakistan here. But having said all of that, what he has said now and what is being reported by these wire agencies, Associated Press and Reuters, is very, very controversial. If we are to take what is being reported at face value, Gaurav, and let's remember, no matter what anyone thinks of Trump, he is the president of the United States.
Yes.
And if he's made this claim, it cannot be ignored. And therefore, there is a dilemma on the External Affairs Ministry's hands. They will need to clarify. It will need to be subtle. It will need to be carefully crafted because they run the risk of calling Trump a liar.
That clarification needs to come from Government of India immediately, because nowhere, unless as perhaps some may think that there is some kind of a subtle shift in India's position?
Well, Gaurav, the fact that these are reports that are trickling in from DC, the Ministry of External Affairs is certainly not going to react to reports. So what we are when we ask questions to the Ministry of External Affairs officials, they're trying to ascertain details. They're looking at whether if there is a video or an official statement that has been put out. Unless and until that happens, it does not warrant a response from the Ministry of External Affairs, is what we're being told. And we'll wait for the response to come in. But I can tell you very clearly that the stand has not changed at all. There has been no dramatic shift in India's policy towards Pakistan, or particularly India's Kashmir policy. It's very clear. Kashmir is an integral part of India, and the dispute that exists between India and Pakistan is a bilateral one and will have to be resolved bilaterally. Okay. Having said that, like I was saying earlier, Gaurav, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump have had conversations with regards to problems in Kashmir, not seeking a solution or mediation from Trump. That could be his interpretation. But with regards to terrorism, cross-border terrorism coming in from Pakistan into India, into the valley, and how India is troubled and concerned with regards to what it's faced with in Kashmir because of Pakistan. And in that context, Pakistan and Kashmir have been discussed many a times between India and the United States of America, including between Modi and Trump. The rest of the
what is very
part of the conversation is an interpretation, I'm sure.
Absolutely. What is also very curious is that Pakistan is seeking US help for resumption of dialogue with India. And I want to quickly bring in Hamza Amir, a colleague from Pakistan, who joins us for more on this. Geeta and Shiv, stay with me. Hamza, we are told that Imran Khan approached Donald Trump and said, I need to use your good offices to have India talk to Pakistan. Take us through what's the thinking in the Pakistani camp.
Well, Gaurav, this is correct. Imran Khan has actually asked Donald Trump that U.S. should actually intervene to resolve the Kashmir dispute, because that is the prime agenda of issues between India and Pakistan, as per Prime Minister Imran Khan. And Donald Trump has said that if he would be able to help, he would love to. But obviously, this is something that should not carry a lot of weightage, only for the fact that we know how U.S. has been with Pakistan. Even in Pakistan, it is a very clear fact that they need Pakistan's support at this time to, ensure a one peace and reconciliation process going forward. The negotiations between the Taliban and the U.S. administration are being done with the help of Pakistan. So any offer that Pakistan would want as a mediation from U.S. would not say no. They have a broader and larger interest in Afghanistan, for which they need Pakistan. So they would actually say yes, but it has to come from two sides, that is India and Pakistan.
Yes.
If one of the parties does not agree to bring U.S. in, U.S. cannot actually, be a mediator. They cannot force themselves into this argument between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. So it should not
Stay with me for a moment. We are getting Donald Trump's reaction, and this is now no longer just what is being quoted in wire agencies. Let's quickly listen in to Donald Trump. Let's also quickly listen in to Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan.
I was with Prime Minister Modi 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this subject. And he actually said, "Would you like to be a mediator or arbitrator?" I said, "Where?" He said, "Kashmir," because this has been going on for many, many years. I was surprised at how long it's been going on.
70 years.
I think they'd like to see it resolved, and I think you'd like to see it resolved. And if I can help, I would love to be a mediator. It shouldn't be, it's impossible to believe two incredible countries that are very, very smart, with very smart leadership, can't solve a problem like that. But if you would want me to mediate or arbitrate, I would be willing to do that.
We have tried our best. We've made all overtures to India to start dialogue, resolve our differences through dialogue. But unfortunately, we haven't made headways as yet. But I'm hoping that President Trump would push this process.
Okay. Now, you heard the US President Donald Trump there saying, I met Modi, Prime Minister Modi 2 weeks ago.
Osaka.
Geeta, you heard him, that this was in Japan. They met 2 weeks ago in Japan, and he says, Prime Minister Modi asked me if I wanted to help, if I'd like to mediate. And that almost sounds ridiculous, Geeta, for the simple reason that is not India's stated position.
Well, now, Gaurav, it's crystal clear. Till now, we had only reports coming in. This is a video. This is President Trump speaking. So we will have to seek an answer from the Ministry of External Affairs and from the government of India. It's the government's position now for them to respond rather than for us to tell what the government really spoke or did not speak. A president of a country is saying in no uncertain terms that India sought help for mediation. I still maintain that that cannot be true. There has been no shift in India's stance when it comes to India's Kashmir policy, or for that matter, how it wants the issue of Kashmir being dealt with. Having said that, these are very clear words coming in. Now the Ministry of External Affairs has a video. There's a statement out there, and they will have to respond to President Trump's statement. It is
Let me also
bring
in Kamar Aga, somebody who watches foreign policy and international relations very closely. Kamar Aga, your appreciation of what the US President Donald Trump has just said. He's saying, Prime Minister Modi asked me to mediate on Kashmir.
I don't think, Modi would ask such a thing. We have a treaty with Pakistan, the Shimla Accord, 1972. Then after that, the Lahore Declaration, which reiterated. We believe that it is a bilateral dispute between the two countries, India and Pakistan, and it was agreed that the issue would be decided mutually by these two countries through negotiation. We don't want war, we want peace with Pakistan, but at the same time, we have been reiterating that Pakistan, is one country which has no respect for international treaties or obligations. Time and again it has violated several agreements with India, including the ceasefire agreement which we have with it, frequent ceasefire. So therefore, we will never accept this proposition, third-party involvement, whether it is America or Russia. Or
Absolutely, and let's see how soon does Government of India react. But before that, for the benefit of viewers who are joining us, and Kamar Aga, stay on with us. For the benefit of viewers who are just joining us, let's just listen in to the US President Donald Trump, who claims that Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked him to intervene on Kashmir.
I was with Prime Minister Modi 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this subject, and he actually said, would you like to be a mediator or arbitrator? I said, where? He said, Kashmir, because this has been going on for many, many years. I was surprised at how long it's been going on.
70 years.
I think they'd like to see it resolved, and I think you'd like to see it resolved, and if I can help, I would love to be a mediator. It shouldn't be, it's impossible to believe two incredible countries that are very, very smart, with very smart leadership, can't solve a problem like that. But if you would want me to mediate or arbitrate, I would be willing to do that.
Okay, so it's being said by the US President. He says he met Prime Minister Narendra Modi 2 weeks ago. So that would be in Osaka, that would be in Japan, where the two had a meeting. And this is where Donald Trump claims that Prime Minister Narendra Modi actually asked him that, do you want to be a mediator? Why does this sound bizarre? Because for 70 years, ever since independence, India has had one very clear stance, except for the time when then Prime Minister, independent India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, took this matter to the United Nations. After that, India has made it very clear that this is an issue which will be sorted out bilaterally. After India defeated Pakistan in 1971 war and a Simla agreement was signed, it was crystal clear in the Shimla agreement that this is a bilateral issue that needs to be sorted out. Post 2004, Geeta, when Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee went to Pakistan, there was an agreement where Pakistan said they will not let their land be used for terror against India. The issue would be sorted out bilaterally in a terror-free environment. So the ball is in Pakistan's court to create a terror-free environment.
Well, that's right. But look at the opportunity that Imran Khan is making of this visit of his to Washington, D.C. And he's in the entire conversation that took place, Imran Khan talks about how this is a dispute and has lasted 70 years. President Trump talking about how it needs to be resolved, and that Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself sought mediation from the United States of America, particularly from President Trump. But till the time there is an official response from Government of India, we'll have to wait and see what government of India is going to say, Gaurav. But we know that there has been no shift in stance, and like you're rightly pointing out, this is not the first time that it has happened. India has been very clear that it's a bilateral issue, has to be resolved bilaterally in a terror-free environment. So yes, the ball is indeed in Pakistan's court. Pakistan has not really created a conducive environment for talks, and that's the only reason why there have been no talks. And it's the Trump administration that has pushed Pakistan to a corner, asking Pakistan to act on these terror networks so as to have a peaceful region.
Shiv, is this a comment made by Donald Trump, perhaps without thinking, or since he has a history of making statements like these, it perhaps should be treated in the manner in which Trump statements are usually treated?
You know, let's get one thing clear, Gaurav. And I agree with Geeta again on this. There is no choice here but to regard what the president has said at face value, because ultimately he is the president of the United States. So you and I can interpret it in any way that we want, but the MEA has no choice but to react officially. I just have a journalist's, opinion on one additional thing over and above what Geeta mentioned, which is that in Indo-US diplomatic relations, I would think that it has been standard fare over the years and the decades for Indian prime ministers across administrations to try and get the United States to lean on Pakistan to shut off the terror taps. Now, I wonder whether that has somehow been interpreted by Trump to mean, be an arbitrator or be a mediator of any kind. But let's remember that this is a dilemma for India because the president has used explicit terminology. Like Geeta mentioned, he has said, Modi met me recently and he asked me if I can be the mediator or arbitrator. He used two words, Gaurav. He used mediator and arbitrator. So, has the president got it completely wrong? Is he being dishonest? Has he misinterpreted something? Those are matters of discussion, but ultimately the External Affairs Ministry has to clarify.
Also, when he says mediator or arbitrator, Trump says, I asked about what, on what issue, and then Modi said Kashmir. So it is a categorical statement that is coming from President Trump. So we really have to wait for the government of India to respond to President Trump's statement.
Especially at a time when governments made it very clear in the past, and Geeta and Shiv, you and I have been a part of so many interactions with government officials where they've made it very clear, one, no third-party mediation, and two, we don't trust anyone else when it comes to protecting our national interest. Let me also bring in Major General S.P. Sinha, a noted defense analyst who joins me on the broadcast. General Sinha, what do you make of Donald Trump's statement saying Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked him to mediate on Kashmir, be an arbitrator, and he said, what do you want me to arbitrate on? And he said, Kashmir.
I personally don't believe this statement of Mr. Trump, firstly. Secondly, the stated position of the government of India led by Mr. Modi is very clear that it is a bilateral matter and we don't need third-party mediation. Thirdly, Maharaja Hari Singh signed instrument of accession which was merged with India on 26th October 1947. It was an unconditional merger and the merger was complete. Therefore, Kashmir belongs to us. It is integral part of India. And fourthly, Pakistan has no business to raise the issue of Kashmir because Pakistan has nothing to do with Kashmir. Kashmir does not belong to Pakistan. It is not a disputed territory. It is an integral...
Actually, the only dispute is in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That's the Kashmir that we want back, and the Kashmir that Pakistan is illegally given to China. That portion of Kashmir is the only dispute. Kamar Aga, if you're still with us, General Sinha, stay with me for a moment. Kamar Aga, now that you've heard what Donald Trump said, what do you make of his statement?
I think he has misunderstood Prime Minister Modi. No Prime Minister would say such a thing, that you mediate or, this is an issue between that. I don't think, he would never ask President Trump to arbitrate between us and Pakistan. There is some misunderstanding has happened here, and President Trump has committed such mistakes in the past also with many countries, and later clarified by the officials in either State Department or Pentagon, So his understanding of the issues are not very deep, particularly about India-Pakistan. I'm sure,
Okay.
he has
Geeta?
committed an
I
error.
agree. I
Okay.
agree with Qamar Saab, Gaurav. I completely agree with Qamar
That
Saab.
Trump's understanding of the situation is very shallow.
Not shallow, but because the fact is that India has, not on one, but many occasions asked US's intervention when it comes to terrorism emanating from Pakistan. And on those specific areas, Kashmir surely is discussed, because when they discuss terrorism emanating from Pakistan, it does mean cross-border terrorism entering Kashmir. And therefore, the entire conversation is about US intervention and US help in sorting Pakistan out. And that has resulted in the strategic team of the United States of America, of Trump administration, taking on Pakistan on various counts, which also includes Hafiz Saeed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jamaat-ud-Dawa. They're listing Masood Azhar, they're listing as also ensuring that Pakistani administration starts acting against them. But did Prime Minister Narendra Modi really offer or ask mediation of the United States of America on the issue of Kashmir? I don't think so, but it's not my place right now, because the statement comes from President of America, and we'll really have to wait for the Indian administration to respond to this one. It is a diplomatic incident, so to say, Gaurav, because this is serious. This is this is no joke. It is not a small business. It's not a petty issue. It's a very important issue where President Trump is quoting Prime Minister Narendra Modi and saying that I checked with Modi on which issue does he want arbitration or mediation from the US, and Modi said Kashmir.
And
So
you're
that's
absolutely
serious.
right. This is no laughing matter. This is no laughing matter, and Donald Trump should understand that. And this is a Shiv in complete variance with India's stated position on Jammu and Kashmir. And so far, there is no reason to believe that Prime Minister Narendra Modi would want to depart from India's stated position, especially at a time when we are perhaps the strongest that we've been on the issue.
The strongest we've been on the issue, all of those agreements that you just named, just one caveat that I want to bring in, Gaurav, when we talk about diplomacy, let's always remember that we're talking about two leaders who keep their policies and their predictability very far from public view. Trump and Modi are two leaders who never discuss their plans in public. What they do is always a surprise. Having said that, I would tend to agree with both you, Geeta, and Qamar Saab when you say that it is near impossible that there has been a policy shift on this count, not only because of all of those agreements and those historical understandings that you listed, but also because, like you rightly pointed out, India's stance as far as the dispute on Pakistan is concerned has never been harder. Whether it is Balakot, whether it is the surgical strikes in 2016, whether it is turning the screws on the terrorism sponsored by Pakistan within Jammu and Kashmir, whether it is actions along the line of control, all of these have been at an elevated level. So for Modi to go 2 weeks ago in Osaka just after the elections and call for mediation on Kashmir seems to be very, very far-fetched. I would, my best guess would be that this was some kind of a misinterpretation. I'm not going to go ahead and call Trump a liar. He is, after all, the president of the United States.
Yes.
And India and the United States have closing relations at this point of time.
Yes.
My best guess would be that this was some kind of a misinterpretation. India and the US across the diplomatic table in the past have constantly talked about Pakistani terror. Mike Pompeo recently has mentioned it as well. But the simple fact is, I think there has been some kind of a misunderstanding or a misinterpretation, perhaps, of what the Prime Minister has said. But let's make no mistake, the onus is definitely on the MEA, and this is not going to be an easy one to navigate.
Or actually, perhaps, Geeta, it's time for the External Affairs Minister or the External Affairs Ministry to tweet out a response, to come up with a statement, because this is something that is absolutely bizarre.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.